Okay, review of the Delfast. Let me preface this by saying I am by no means a professional YouTuber, nor do I want to be. And it's a little windy here, so apologies for that. So, let me start off by saying this bike looks pretty cool. Not gonna lie. So, into the review. I got this bike about a month ago, a little bit less. It took me 6 months from ordering it to receive shipment. I ordered it in mid to late August and got it in early February. I haven't had any major issues yet. Putting the bike together, it took me about 3-4 hours. I did it mostly myself. My girlfriend helped me put on the front wheel, at least, because putting on the front wheel by yourself is nearly impossible. Total completion time, it took me about 10 hours. That's including all the amenities such as the side view mirror, the side boxes, which I'll get into a little bit later. Just tightening everything up, making sure it's where I wanted, adjusting the shocks and everything. The seat post. This is an aftermarket seat post you can get directly from Delfast. Did not come with the bike. It came 2 weeks after the fact, which I was a little upset about, but here it is. Took me maybe half an hour to put it on. You have to take off both covers, which these are plastic, they're not metal. We'll do the negatives first since I started there. As you can see, the seat post is very long. It doesn't go through the center hole, which by the looks of it, it should. It's only off by maybe 1/8 or 3/16 of an inch. I had to cut the seat post down, you know, and by no means am I a short person. I'm 6 foot, 190 pounds, and without it cut, I was just barely on my tippy toes, and it was very difficult to come to a complete stop without wanting to fall over. So I just gotta saw and cut that down. So I recommend you do the same if you're as tall as me or shorter. It does go down a little bit farther with the seat post that the bike comes with, but not by much. You also have the issue of it running into the rear shock, which you can see right there. It's a little bit. The rear shock, you can see, is also upside down, but that's not that big of a deal. I think it's more beneficial because otherwise this component would be coming up here, and that would cause more problems with the seat post running into it. So not a huge issue. The bolt. So this bolt down here came very loose. After taking off this cover and putting it back on 3 times, I finally got it to fit in. I recommend, if you buy this bike and put it together yourself, definitely check all the bolts, make sure they're all tight. On my first long ride, the bolts out of this actually came loose, and I lost one of them in the spacer. There's spacers in this section right here. There's little metal spacers. I'm not going to take it out and show you because it's a pain. So be careful of that when you take this off, if you ever do. Let's see. The turn signals. My rear turn signals are a little bit off, and hopefully you can see it. So here's the left one. You can see it blinks pretty normally, good speed. And then we turn the right one on. You can see it's a little slower, just, you know, a little bit different than the left. So I don't know if that's an issue with the light or if that's how it comes stock. Another thing with the lights, since the rear tail light is fogged out or murdered is more colloquialism, it's a little difficult to see. I had someone driving behind me during a bright sunny day here in San Diego, and they said they could barely see the lights. So if that's a concern, definitely switch it out. I also have a light on the back of my helmet. I don't know if you can see that. Really helpful for night rides. I also plan on getting some lights for inside the pedals. Some more issues. So I got the aftermarket Shad premium side boxes. I only have one on now, so I could show the components on the other side. So the way they sent me the directions were a little incorrect, I would say. There was another mount that comes down and it comes out like this and around, and so it drops this down a little bit. And the way it's shown in the tutorial video that Delfast sent me, this bolt right here should be in this spot, I believe. So this should be about 6 inches lower than it currently is, if not lower. My issue with that, and I don't believe Delfast did any real-world testing, otherwise they would have figured this out in the first place, is that if you install it the way that they show you on the video, you run into this issue, which is this mount right here slams into the rear fender. I had a major issue with this bolt. Actually, it fell out while I was riding, which is very annoying. I lost the spacer, which I didn't know was in there, as I mentioned previously. And so luckily I had a replacement bolt, which Delfast had provided, which isn't as long as the bolts in the fender. They're the same bolts that are used in the side covers, but it's the same thread and size, and it just barely fits. And when I was tightening it down, I didn't know the spacer was supposed to be in there. So I cracked the bolt off inside the threaded unit. Had to take it to a bike shop to get that tapped out really quick. So after moving this mount maybe 3 or 4 times, I can't remember exactly, and messing around with the suspension, I finally figured out a system where it's no longer slamming into this piece right here. So I recommend, if you get the Shad premium side boxes, you do the same. The universal seat post does come with a regular mount for the Delfast provided side boxes, I believe. I had to take that off to install this new one. That is probably my biggest gripe with the bike that I've had so far. Some more issues. I suppose this is a known issue, but the GPS unit doesn't work. I have a SIM card. I confirm that the SIM card works with the manufacturer of the GPS unit. I contacted Delfast. Delfast customer support has actually been pretty good. They've been good about returning my emails and answering my phone calls. So, contrary to what you might read online, the customer support is actually pretty decent. It takes some time for them to get back to you, but eventually they will hopefully answer my question and resolve the issue, because for now I don't tend to leave it out unless I'm just running quickly into the store. Luckily, when you lock this bike, the frickin' alarm is super loud. I accidentally set it off the first time I put it together inside my apartment, and if you've ever had an ADT security home security system or anything like that, you will know what I'm talking about. It's a very loud siren, essentially. And also the front wheel locks, obviously. So those two things, you know, if you're just running to the store, or, you know, if you're in college and you're going to class, you know, I don't think anyone's going to try to steal this. That, coupled along with the thing, weighs 150 pounds, which does sound like quite a lot, but if you're just trying to pick this up, like for instance, in my apartment, I have to move it around and shimmy it a bit, so I have to pick up the front end. It's not bad. Adding this universal seat post does add some extra weight, but you know, it sounds more daunting than it is. It's not that actually heavy. It does give it some more prowess on the road and stability. Oh, also, when I was messing around putting the bike together, hooking up the battery, there does seem to be some extra wires in there. Specifically, there's 2 wires coming from the GPS unit, and I couldn't get a clear answer from Delfast customer support, but they essentially said that it's not needed. And there's some other wires in there that don't seem to be connected to anything, that I just have no idea what they do or where they're supposed to go to. This kickstand seems a little flimsy. I'm not too comfortable, or I'm not too confident that it's gonna last me very long. You know, I'm used to riding motorcycles. I've been riding motorcycles since I was 10 years old. You know, this bike does in some ways feel like a motorcycle, but it does pass off as a bicycle because of these things. I've never had any issues with the comp. As you can see, I have 150 almost miles on the thing. Came with about, I think it came with like 2 miles on the odometer for, you know, them testing it. Not a big deal. Charging port for your phone, I like that. This phone mount, definitely not the greatest, but it definitely does its job. I'm just gonna keep that. I put this side mirror down because, as we are all aware, the thing looks freaking dorky if I were to have 2 mirrors on the, you know, on either side. Also, I left the front fender off because I was worried about the front fender running into the charge port, and I don't want to have that issue. Also, I just like the look of it. So for that side mirror, I just had to, you know, turn that down the other way. As you can see, that's the original, how it came. Let's see. I'm also gonna get eventually a regular, you know, moto saddle. So if I wanted to, I could fit 2 people. That'll also lower the ride height for me and make it a little more comfortable. I'm used to, you know, motorcycle seats, so if you want a bike seat, just keep it as is. It's fine. You know, if you're not going over any bumpy terrain, it's okay. I will say the pedaling cadence on this thing, it's not the greatest. Look at the size of that rear sprocket. It's tiny. So if you don't know what that means, essentially when you're trying to pedal the thing, by the time you hit, I don't know, 9 or 10 miles an hour, you're already pedaling as fast as you can, and the thing isn't, you know, it's not moving because you're pedaling it. It's moving because of the pedal assist, or because you're going downhill. So I may look into, you know, changing that rear sprocket if that's even possible, because this is a special carbon drive. I don't know if they make those or where I would even begin to find them. But as long as you're in pedal assist 1 at the lowest setting, it's totally fine for bike trails. I find it more than comfortable. If I have to go a little bit faster, I just bump that up, this little plus sign, up to 2. I mostly ride this thing throttle only, full speed. I just slow down when, you know, I see a police officer or I'm in an area that I shouldn't be going so fast. These rods right here sticking out, some people might be concerned that they're loose, but that's fine. They're just a tension rod for the sprocket, I think, or for the bar. I can't remember exactly. Let's see, into the performance, the torque on this thing, being a hub drive motor, not mid drive, not the greatest. You know, you're not going to be the fastest one off the line. It does get up to speed relatively quickly, but off the line it's a little slow. It can tackle hills no problem. I went up probably 30 foot 40-degree hill the other day, and this thing had no issues getting up that. You know, it's up to user experience in some ways. Now for some other pros. When I first started off, when I completed the bike, at least just to ride it, I didn't have the side mirror on, literally just had the tire and the normal seat post just to test it. I rode it for about, I want to say 30 to 40 miles, most of that being full open throttle, the whole time, and I didn't have to charge it for 30 40 miles, which I think is pretty good. The bike I did not ride it to empty at all. The directions do say you should charge it before your first ride, but I was too excited, so that was good. The battery life overall, it's very hard to tell you because I'm not keeping track, but I've ridden it 150 miles almost, and in that time I've charged it 3 times. One thing actually, when I was installing the universal seat post, see this wire for the brake light that runs all the way along? So in the compartment, it's tied up via zip tie, so if you are installing this, just make sure you give yourself some extra slack so that these connectors can, fit together. Other than that, other than those other modifications that I mentioned I was going to do, the moto saddle, look into some non-goofy, mirrors, maybe eventually down the road replace the handlebars, but I don't have any plans to do that soon, or I'm not going to replace any of the major components on the bike until I financially recover from this situation, because the bike was a little expensive. I may look into, I have an electric skateboard and I want to be able to carry that on here, so I may look into if they sell it on the internet somewhere, or I may just go down to a shop and see if I can talk to a welder about building me a custom mount that I can put on right here so I can bring it to the beach and ride it. If I think of anything else, I'll leave it down in the video description. Again, I'm not a professional YouTuber. This isn't my day job. I'm just trying to put some helpful information out there for potential buyers and current Delfast owners. If you have any questions, you can ask them. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can, but I do have a life and other important things going on, so, cut me some slack. See ya.